My loneliness is killing me. I was listening, but as you're saying that, I'm like, Britney Spears all the way through. I had to say it. I had to put it.
Love that. Oh my god, I love the, like, dance break in the middle. It's true though, it
Yeah.
kills you, right? But look, okay, but cool, very cool example. Britney Spears, surrounded by millions of fans and lover, like, lovely people that absolutely loved her and adored her, and you and I are probably one of them.
Yes, 100%.
What happens when a media personality and a sex therapist grab a mic? You get Spill the Tea, where the tea is hot, the truths are unfiltered, and things sometimes get downright steamy. From sex and relationships to life's messy, hilarious, and shocking realities, Will Nash and Maria Orrego aren't holding back. It's about to get deliciously messy.
Spill the Tea podcast with Will Nash and Maria Orrego. Welcome back. It's so awesome to be here. I cannot believe we've done a season.
I can't believe it either.
We took a break and we're like, okay, no, we have to go back to school too. We have to get back to our routines after a summer of all of the things, right? So first of all, it's nice to see your beautiful face.
It's nice to see your beautiful face. I feel like we've spoken all summer, but I've actually, like, missed having our conversations one-on-one.
And sometimes I forget that our conversations like offline, like everyone doesn't hear those. 'Cause I feel like we're always just sending whether a video message or a text message or a voice note. And sometimes I just get, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, depends on who you ask, really comfortable here. But so what the funny thing is that a little behind the scenes of this podcast is we're recording this from two different cities. And so the truth is, we actually don't get to hang out, socialize in person all that much together. But this summer, I saw you once. So, I mean, that's better than nothing at all.
Oh my god, and we tried so many times. I feel like the summer also just, like, disappeared on all of us. I feel like talking to friends and family, it just, like, it was a blip in the radar, and somehow we're already mid-September. But we did get to see each other, which was amazing. We got to go experience a concert together. We got to see Sean Desmond, which was awesome, which, by the way, I think he's sold out all his shows, which is amazing too.
Oh yeah, like Sean Desmond, like don't like haters stay away because this podcast
Mhm.
loves Sean Desmond. And we were at his concert in Barrie, Ontario. He performed at Kempton Fest. I know that he has some shows coming up in Toronto and just all across Canada this fall. And I'm actually like not paid to say that. That's just because I enjoy me some Sean Desmond. And I mean, we're gonna
Mhm.
talk about this more in a separate little summer episode, but I mean, really, your teenage dream. You got to see him.
You know what? Yes, and I will say, because I did post this, that was my 3rd time seeing Sean Desmond, and I am not embarrassed to say that. I think you know what I loved, though, this time? I loved the comeback story. I love a great comeback story. I love a great underdog story, and I feel like from, like, a therapist perspective, Sean Desmond is getting, like, a beautiful, like, healing process through this, like, time right now, and I just love that. I think I'm just really proud that, like, we've supported him and that he's, like, been brave enough to come back after so many years.
And I think when someone, whether that's an artist, maybe another podcast that you listen to, a celebrity or content creator, is so open, because the reality of it is that I think we're coming out of this sort of era or time where everything is shiny and glossy. And, yeah, he struggled. Yeah, he had some hard times. He's opened up about his wife and her health issues and, some of the struggles
Mhm.
that even he had in the industry. And I think that that's what just to me makes people always appear so much more real, and you just fall more in love with people. And that's one characteristic that he definitely has. I don't know. So what else did you get up to this summer? Like I know you went to Sean Desmond. What else did you
Did. Honestly, lots of just, like, time to myself, reflection, like, lots of healing. I would say this summer was, like, a lot of, like, healing for me, like, taking some time to sit by the water, do lots of reading, enjoy the sunshine, and just kinda reconnect with myself. So I know that we didn't get a chance to see each other very much. Honestly, I don't think I saw anyone this summer.
Oh
So
yeah.
like other than my direct family. Just because yeah, I needed a bit of a break, but I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start up again.
I feel the same way. I feel like with a lot of my close friends, including you in this, is that there were so many times where I wanted to see people more. Like I saw them, but I was like, oh, like that was a taste, but that like wasn't enough, right? Because I'm one of those people, and we've talked about this before, that my family, but also my close friends, my close circle, which my actual close circle is quite small, and they really give me that life, give me that boost, as I always hope that I give to them too. Same thing. I was, what did I do this summer? I got to do a few concerts, which this was kind of like my summer of concerts, which was interesting because, after working in broadcasting for so long, I think that's one thing you don't realize, that, yeah, you do get the odd concert in, comped, right? So this year it's like, okay, like, I guess every penny I spent went to all these concerts, but it was great because I mean, for me, music has always been a form of therapy and
Yeah.
still is. And before I even knew it, so that has been great. I have one more to go, a couple weeks from the recording date of this podcast, and then my bank account needs to take a break, but it's been great. And then again, same thing, just spending time with friends and family, enjoying the sunshine when it's been there. But we'll dive into it a little more on another episode, but it's been just so great to return as well too. Now, one
Yeah. You did also get to guest, though, on another podcast, which was really important too.
you know what's so funny? You're right. Not that I forgot about that. Let's show some love to stereotherapy. Because for me, yes, that was technically in June, so technically it was summer, and you're right, it was right at the end of June, Pride Month, and I wanna
Mhm.
send a shout out to, and I really hope she hears this, because I know she listens to this podcast a lot. Follow Stereotherapy, listen to her podcast, she is absolutely incredible, and the thing is that I actually had a lot of people reach out to me from that one who wouldn't normally listen to this podcast, because she does a lot about nostalgia, pop punk, emo music, emo bands, and all that. So who wouldn't maybe typically be listening to a sex and relationships podcast, but she is just an absolute, like, truly an absolute gem. So I want to shout her out as well for having me on that podcast. And hey, you know what? We're both available if you want to interview us on your podcast. It's also been really cool to see some of my former colleagues within the broadcasting industry start up their own podcasts. I'm always cheering them on as well. And yeah, and one of the things I wanted to say, like, we've said this offline, but we've never really shared this in the podcast. Like, this podcast is called Spill the Tea with Will and Maria. And one of the things that was brought to my attention by a few people who were told me when I asked them a chance to listen to it in our first season was, you know what? We really like the chemistry between you and Maria. You're like, if people know me from other things, they're like, you're being very you, Maria's being very informational, but yet kind of sharing herself as well. But they really wanted to make sure that we don't forget to spill the actual tea, which I was like, yeah, you know what? You have a point. Like, we always have our questions in every episode. I know last year, last season, we did a lot with like pride and stuff. So maybe that's kind of where that comes into play. But we
Mhm.
really want to bring it back to that, because we think that that's where this originated, and we want to keep it going. So I hope you're okay with that as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it, and I feel like we've gotten some really spicy questions. I think that we are ready to kind of bring things a little bit more fiery to the
Yes.
podcast, which I'm very excited for. And there's been interesting questions throughout the season, right? Like even like the season one, we had some really interesting questions, some that overlapped. We've had people reach out to us with things that like they're more worried about, right? And it's been wonderful also to get lots of DMs with questions that maybe people don't really want us to talk about like on air, but they'd like
Hmm.
us to
Hmm.
respond to in private, right? But if you have a question and you're listening and you want us to discuss it, please feel free to send us a message because I do love hearing what people are going through and what they're struggling with or even what they're curious about. We got a lot of curious ones over the summer, I think.
Which I love. I love that. And it's also, don't forget to, if you're not following us on socials, at the Spill the Tea Pod is where you will be able to find all that information. And since we're talking about spilling the tea and talking about questions, we might as well just dive into it, right?
I love it. Season two, first question, spill the tea.
Okay, I will say, before I dive into this first question, there is a lot of questions, or at least a couple of questions that we had in regards to toxic relationships, which again, we hear that phrase used all the time. I've had personal conversations with friends of mine admitting to me that they're or have been in toxic
Mhm.
relationships, and obviously never healthy for anybody. But this kind of goes around that. All right. So I am stuck in a toxic situationship. One day he's all about me, planning trips, telling me I'm the one. The next day he disappears, leaves me on red, and acts like I don't even exist. I know it's messing with my head, but why can't I walk away from someone who clearly does not value me? Now, notice this person said situationship. I just want to bring that to your attention, not necessarily relationship, because I know a lot of people kind of want to identify the difference there. What do you think about this? I mean, it's one of these things, right? Where it's like, it's almost like when this person, because she did say he, or they said he, when it's convenient for him, he's all about this person. But
Mhm.
maybe if there are other things, other people, other players on the go, the priority is not there. And then I guess, should we make the definition here, which I know might sound obvious, but between situationship and relationship? What would you
I
say?
think so, yeah.
Yeah, a relationship is quite obvious. I would think, like, you are in a hopefully, committed, whatever that definition is to you, relationship with somebody else. Situationship, it can be a little more vague.
Yeah, it can be definitely vague, but I think it also, like you said, it can mean different things to different people. And I don't know if I don't think people actually define that with the person that they're seeing, right? I don't think anyone's had the conversation of are we in a situationship? Also, I don't know where that word came from, but it is absolutely hilarious. Do you remember when we were younger, we had like hanging out, dating,
Yeah.
sleeping together, like seeing each other? And it's like, what do any of these mean? Um, I love this question, but honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with him. I think it
Okay.
has a lot to do with the person asking the question.
Do you think it's like there's a lot of insecurities there and maybe they're just kind of second guessing what's going on? Or do you think it's a situation of putting too much focus on this because it doesn't sound like it's maybe all that they thought it would be? Do you think that's where it goes?
I think so. I think that when anybody, and without getting like super therapist on you, I think when anyone gets into a relationship, you have to examine why you're getting into any relationship,
Right.
right? So there's relationships where it's like, I'm lonely and I just want to be with someone. And that's okay. You're getting into that knowing that that's what you're like the need you're trying to fill. I think when you're in a situationship and you're going back and forth with these people and you feel like you don't have like the ability to value yourself, that's time to like step away and do some work
Right.
on yourself. Like it's not about the other person. The other person clearly has other issues that they need to deal with, perhaps in therapy. But you as a person, if you're saying, I can't walk away from somebody that doesn't value me, that's telling you something that you're not putting any value on what you need right now and who you are as a person. And I think that's where it needs to start. I think you need to start evaluating why you don't have value in yourself.
It's interesting the way that you put it that way, because even as you were speaking and I was sitting here and I was listening to you, it's one of those things that you're right, whether it's intended this way or not, whether you are going for a friends with benefits, a long term relationship, something casual, a threesome, whatever it is, it's like there is sort of like a science behind that as to why you are craving or wanting to be in that sort of a situation with somebody. And obviously, this person has been in this situationship. It seems like a lack of a sense of self, maybe a lack of self-awareness, potential insecurities. And the problem is that okay, when it's good, it's good. Like when it's good, it's great. But the minute that maybe there's not that immediate text message response or not an immediate plan for the weekend, uh I can't leave him. You know what I mean? It's sort of like I don't have that within me to leave this person. So what do you think? Like, it sounds like they're not happy with the situation. So beyond, the obvious answer to every question on this podcast would be going to talk to a therapist. But what do you think those first steps are so that this person can either figure out, is this situationship for them, or should they find a way to get to that point to end this relationship?
Yeah, I think one of the things I would say is that in any relationship, when you end something or somebody doesn't give you the time of day or they don't value you, that's not a failure. And I think a lot of times, unfortunately, we're taught that if we can't get that person to like us or to love us or to want us sexually, excuse me, then we've failed in some way or we're not as valuable as we thought we were or we're not quote unquote enough, right? I think
Mhm.
what's important is we all have different needs. We all like different things. We're all attracted to different things. We all come with our different like childhood traumas that like shape
Baggage.
us, right?
Yeah.
Our relationships. And so the first thing I would do is actually like end it fully. Like just saying like I'm going to like cut this off, like the idea of like no contact for a while and really examine why I'm in this situation, why I keep putting myself in here, not why he's doing something or why he's
Mhm.
treating me this way, but why am I treating myself this way? And where is that coming from?
And that's a good point, right? I think that I don't know. I like to think of myself as pretty self-aware, and as I've gotten wiser, I feel like I've become more self-aware. But I also know that eventually, would I think it's a good idea for everyone to, at some point, if they need it or consistently, go to therapy. I'm not just saying that because I'm doing a podcast with you. But I think that, before this person could probably entertain the idea of speaking to somebody, and I mean, maybe they are. I shouldn't assume that they are not. That's something that you really have to dive deep into.
Yeah, I'm also curious about like why we're getting into these types of situationships right now. Like I know that obviously it's been happening for years, but I do think that the constant bombardment of like
Yeah.
social media right now and just like people thinking that if they don't get married or if they don't find a boyfriend or if they're single for
Mhm.
too long, it does something to who they are. They failed as a human. And so then we just kind of land in these situationships just to feel something. I think that's, like, the biggest thing. I'm not really sure why we keep falling into these, like, toxic relationships over and over again.
That's a very good point because as someone who is single, it's like you definitely even still, even if I haven't spoken about, going on a date, dating somebody, anything like that at all, out of the blue, I will still have people ask me, "Why aren't you dating? Why aren't you dating
Mm,
someone? When's the last time you went on a date?" Um So those questions do come up, right?
mhm.
I don't have a problem answering the question. I mean, sometimes it's like, I don't know, I get tired of, being doing the online thing with the apps and whatnot. And I mean, I mean, not to say that I'll be alone forever, but it's also like one of those things where like when you get in those modes when you want to put the effort in and you feel like you're not getting that in return from people that you're interested in or attracted to or connected to, you kind of get tired, right? Especially when you're like, I have survived as a single person for a while. And yeah, like anybody else, I crave those things and I will get lonely sometimes, but it's not like I'm sitting around my apartment 7 days a week crying myself to sleep. Maybe there are people who are, and I think, you have to have a good sense of self to be able to do that. And then there are other people, I specifically know people who will, at all costs have to be in a relationship with somebody, right? Um,
Yeah, and
it doesn't
that's
matter if that's 2 minutes, 2 years, 10 months, like whatever it is, and I'm just like, and every time I speak to these couple people that I'm thinking of, it's like, "Oh, guess what?" I'm like, "Jesus, like, I'm exhausted, like, I'm not even on these dates," and I'm just like, and it'll be, "Remember that guy from," and I'm like, "Oh my, like, how are you doing this?" Like, I'm just like,
oh my
I
god.
I'm like, I mean, A, I hope he's paying all the bills for number 1, but it's just like, you have to do what's right for you. That's my non-therapist perspective of it all.
Mhm.
But I really hope, going back to this question for just a second, I really hope that that person finds a way to gain some sense of self and gain some security in who they are before they even think about entering another relationship, because that, to me, is the most important thing.
The sense of self is so important, and I love that you mentioned that because the ability for anyone, whether you're in a relationship or not, to sit by yourself with your thoughts and be quote unquote alone or feel lonely is so important for your own psyche because that's when the real work actually happens. So if you're bouncing from relationship to relationship or you find yourself in these toxic situationships where you are being left on red, the question goes to, why am I so afraid to just sit with my own thoughts and be by myself? Like, why don't I love myself enough to take myself out on a date and be okay with just being with me? And we do this all the time, right? We distract with our
Mhm.
phones, with movies, with dates, with sex, drugs, alcohol. Like, all those things are just distractions at the end of the day. And we don't want to sit alone.
So, even though I'm not in a relationship, even though I don't have kids, I still consider myself successful. I still consider myself busy and,
Mhm.
I have a good group of friends, I have a good family, uh, but even like I said, at times, I have moments, I have moods where I have felt lonely, and I've
Mhm.
absolutely, and this is spoken from a social butterfly too, right? But I've always wondered, and I don't know if you want to speak to personal experience or people that
Mhm.
do people who are in long-term relationships or people who have kids, this might seem like a stupid question, but I know a lot of single people wonder this. Do they have moments of loneliness?
Oh,
Or
yes.
even if you're super busy, even if you're in a relationship, even if you have three whiny kids?
Yes, oh my gosh, I think I would say, like, one of the phrases I've heard multiple times, and, like, I say multiple, but, like, thousands probably of times in my office from couples is the idea of you're laying beside your partner and you're still feeling that, like, gut-wrenching loneliness in bed. You can feel lonely in a long-term committed relationship, and again, that could be because of the relationship you're in. It could also be about things that you're going through personally, and that would require a lot more like layers of like onions coming off on that one. But being lonely in a relationship is a very real feeling and it's
Mm.
terrible. It's frightening, right? It's very sad also. But it, again, like I said, like in season one, probably a thousand times, that's telling us something, right? If I feel lonely in a relationship, it's telling me that something needs to change or adjust. And either that's my relationship or that's me, something's going on with myself, right? And oftentimes we blame our partner and we
Mhm.
don't realize that the stuff we're going through is actually about us and it's rarely about our partners. And it's so much about what we're going through and the things that we haven't healed, the things that we haven't processed and like figured out. So, I do often, like, have to make people self-aware when it comes to these feelings, that it's not because your partner didn't touch you tonight, it's because there's something else going on that's really heavy that needs to be processed.
My loneliness is killing me. That's I was listening, but as you're saying that, I'm like, Britney Spears all the way through. I had to say it. I had to put it.
Love that. Oh my god, I love the, like, dance break in the middle. It's true, though, it, like, it
Yeah.
kills you, right? But look, okay, but cool, very cool example. Britney Spears, surrounded by millions of fans and like, lovely people that absolutely loved her and adored her, and you and I are probably one of them,
Yes, 100%.
and yet she was so lonely.
And I mean, I don't know now because I don't personally know Brit, but maybe she now is too, because now she's, yes, she's online, and I know there's been some questions regarding that, but she's not entertaining the world in a way that she once was. Whether that is, better for her mental health now or not, again, that's a whole other topic, and maybe we'll dive into it one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it's
I
that
wanna
sort of thing, right? People are
Yeah,
fanning your
I
flame.
wanna circle back those to this question of I like, this idea of the situation because I do wanna set, like, a bit of a reminder.
Yeah.
Better to be alone and feel lonely than to be in a relationship and lonely.
Ooh.
I will always say that. If you are alone and lonely, yes, that is a terrible feeling, but being in a committed relationship and feeling lonely, I think that can be more paralyzing because you also feel that sense of being stuck and you feel that sense of failure a lot deeper. There's a lot more grief in that. So, if you are in a situationship and you're scared to like let it go because you don't want to be lonely, I will say that my 2 cents, and you can take it or leave it, being alone and lonely is a lot healthier because that's where the real work can actually start.
I love that, and I mean, honestly, as you said that, especially the starting off with being alone and lonely is healthier than being in a relationship, being in that bed with someone and still feeling lonely, still feeling not in a good place. I actually got chills, and I think that anyone who's single or just not in a relationship or just not actively searching or pursuing or maybe coming out of a divorce, like, Still single. It's like those are
Mhm.
important words to hear because I think that, sometimes it can be overwhelming when, like you said, whether it's people you're talking to, people on social media, and you're like, "Oh my god, like, it must be so great to be in those relationships," but it's not always that way. And I think
No,
that's something that's worth noting too, right? Because I think that I don't know, but I'm gonna guess maybe you've been in a relationship in the past and maybe you felt lonely, or whether you were single and you felt that way. Like I definitely have friends who have been in relationships or who are in relationships and have felt that way, but yet they're coming to me and they're just like, What should I do? What should I?" I'm like, "I don't know." Like, I'm like, well, actually, I do know because I'm like, if you actually feel that lonely or you are that unhappy, just to say you're with someone to feel like, your Instagram life is all shiny is not
yes.
worth it. At the end of the day, you have to do what you need to do for your own health and your own mental health because
Mhm.
no one else is going to do it for you, right? And regardless on whether this partner thinks that you are the best person in the world or, there's just the power there, then you have to remember to do those things for yourself. And I think that I'd always encourage people just personally, if you can I don't know how people become self-aware, because I feel like that's something you have to have within you, but I think
Mm.
that, if there's any sort of tricks or tips to doing that, I think we should all become more self-aware in all aspects of our lives, because I think that that will help you grow, like, I really do.
I agree, yes, but that also takes the ability to be alone and lonely in your own thoughts, right? That's how we become self-aware when we're actually listening to what's going on in our mind, in our body, what our spirit is telling us. I think one thing I will say about this question when it says, like, "It's messing with my head, but I can't walk away," um, why can't I walk away from someone that values me? I think the important thing here is to take your power back and leave the guy on red and walk away. Like you take back your control and power over yourself. And that's the first thing that will make you feel that confidence and that value in yourself. Don't give somebody else power over your emotions. That's not what they're there for.
I just had to do that. I know that picked up on the mic. I had to give you the applause because it's just like, "Yes, yes, yes, yes.
Do it.
Go off, Maria. Go off." I love that. And I will say this because I know we'll probably wrap this episode up in a couple minutes. But the one thing I want to say is I know a lot of people who, went from like high school into marriage or a long term relationship. So they've
Mhm.
never had that thing where they had to live on their own or maybe live with a roommate and they went from like one bed to the next. So that when
Mhm.
they are at home by themselves, they actually can't be. Right. And it's not that they are trying to fill up their lives because they're social butterfly. I think that they just cannot be alone and cannot enjoy their own company because in their minds, and these are like again the people I know, they don't want to be in their thoughts alone. And for me, it's like, okay, like I get that you don't always want to be in your thoughts alone all of the time, but I think you should be able to. Like, am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I think you should be able to. In order to be like a more holistic human that actually knows what they want in life and
Yeah.
how they want to live life, you should be able to sit alone with your thoughts every so often to just check in because you check in with yourself, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what therapy is great for because it kind of forces you to. But being able to sit alone at home or going for a walk by yourself without music, without your phone, taking all the distractions away and really getting attuned with what's going on in your mind and your body, it's terrifying though. It takes work and courage.
No, I will say this as I'm like, cheering you on for what you had just said. Even if I go for a short walk, like a 10-15 minute walk, I do at times struggle to not have something in my ear or have not have something in my hand. And when I say something in my hand, I mean a phone. Um, let's just keep that clear. But it's like, and but I think that part of that is like, I think that like so many people, I always have something like on the go in the background, whether that's, whether that's listening to music or whatnot. Um,
But that's not a bad let me
Yeah.
clarify though, that's not a bad thing because we all have and, like, this will probably be, like, an episode in of itself. We all have different brains, right? So for some of us, silence is the most helpful thing, but for other people, you can be in your thoughts and still listen to music. It's more so just the ability to look inward and not be distracted by the things around us, right? So you could be listening to music and still be with yourself, right? I think I say music or phone more so when we use it as like a coping mechanism. It's a drug, right? All of those things give us that
Addictive.
hit and we're like distracted and we disassociate with it. What I mean is, you could listen to music, you could be watching a show, but you could still be thinking and looking inward and trying to figure yourself out like a puzzle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we hope that this helped this Spill the Tea listener on this first episode back for season 2 on the Spill the Tea podcast with Will and Maria. Hey, you know what? Don't forget, if you want to make sure that you never miss an episode, which I think we both want you to, make sure you subscribe, you rate the podcast, give us 5 stars, whether you're listening on Spotify, on Google, Apple Podcasts, like whatever it is. And also, send us a DM. Keep it if you want us to say your name, if you want to shout out on the podcast, let us know. But if you want to keep anonymous with that, at the Spill the Tea Pod on all socials. We're on Instagram a lot, on TikTok a lot as well. And yeah, looking forward. This is just the beginning of our new season of Spill the Tea, even spicier. And yeah, it's been great to be with you again.
Yeah, welcome to season 2.
And that's a tea.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Spill the Tea. Got a burning question or a scandalous scenario? Slide into our DMs. We're ready to spill it all and maybe stir things up a little. Follow us at the Spill the Tea Pod, at Will Nash on Air, and at Sex Off the Pedestal.